the thing that people don't understand, the difference between equality and equity.
And I speak to a number of leaders and they all have good intentions. We've got 50 to 100 early career roles. That still doesn't level the playing field.
It doesn't at all. There's a lot of ignorance, I think. It's where people go, oh, why are we talking about this? We're all the same. I treat everybody the same. I don't see color, I don't see gender. But you should see color, gender, social status. Because if you don't see it, then you don't understand that my path is different from yours. When you make your world bigger and you surround yourself with different people, they bring a different perspective to the table. And that helps with the collaboration, your decision making, your buyers, your curiosity, your innovation.
Absolutely.
My name is Elona Mortimer-Zhika. I'm the CEO of Iris Software Group. Iris employs 3,500 employees, and this is my Duvet flip.
How did your life start?
I was born in Albania. It's a communist country, pretty closed off from the rest of the world. But I have to say, I was really happy. We're all poor, so we didn't know any different. Your world is really, really small. When I was 16, my life completely changed. The International Baccalaureate Programme, United World College of the Atlantic in Wales. I competed and I won this scholarship. I was the only Albanian kid that won it. They were started as a global movement to unite nations, cultures, people, because education can be that force. My world just became so big overnight. I've spent most of my life ever since recognizing the opportunity that was given to me and then use that privilege to pave the way for many others.
Wow. Why are more people not talking like you are?
I don't know is the answer, but the trick is making sure.
What's your duvet flip? What's getting you out of bed?
Honestly,
welcome to my duvet flip. How are we?
We're excellent. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. This is the most welcome I have ever felt anywhere.
Wow.
And what an amazing setting as well.
Well, we put this all in place just for you because we know you as a glammed up with Gucci. So we've thought
I love gold.
Yes, absolutely.
Honestly, something is going to go missing from your studio today.
I've heard, and I've got the earpiece in, and they're saying, "Watch out."
Thank you.
This show started. You know those things that start, and you're like, oh, "I don't want to be a podcast host. I don't want to be on camera." And you just start it because in the pandemic, people were lost, all ages. And we wanted to do something for the next generation that just gave them a little bit of hope. And our first podcast, I'll tell you, it was absolutely a nightmare. We hired an ex-teacher who was fantastic, but they built, I don't know if you've ever seen Mr. Bean.
Yes.
You know one of those
Mr. Bean.
We had one of those cameras, with the flip, that's all we had. And we was like, okay, the camera's wobbling. What do we do? And we put the camera on a box, and halfway through the episode, the camera fell off. And I was so embarrassed. And that is life, right? You start
I bet that made a great piece of conversation. Then everybody relaxed.
Everyone relaxes.
How good is that?
But talking about your life, how did your life start?
So I was born in Albania. Very, very different upbringing to, what my life is like today. It's a communist country, pretty closed off from the rest of the world. Nobody was allowed in or out. Didn't have TV. Well, we had TV. We had one TV station for 4 hours a day, but it was political propaganda and Norman Wisdom. I don't know why they let us watch Norman Wisdom, so he's like a national hero in Albania. There was no way that you could listen to any radio channels that were in Albanian. You would absolutely be sent to prison. You were trained to use guns from a very young age because we were brainwashed and told that we were the happiest country in the world and the Western world and capitalism was going to come and take over, so we had to defend our land. And it all sounds a little bit surreal and a little bit Handmaid's Tale, and it was a bit like that, but I have to say, it wasn't unhappy. I was really happy. My family were amazing, my friends were amazing, we were all the same, we were all poor, so we didn't know any different. Your world is really, really small, so it doesn't matter, because if you don't know any different, you've got no benchmark. And when I was 16, my life completely changed. I competed for this scholarship to come to the UK. I'm not sure I understood what it meant, if I'm honest. I just went and competed because I loved maths, and this was, studying was a way that I could get myself lost in something else. It was a way to make my world bigger. So I I studied well, I studied a lot, and I competed and I won this scholarship. I was the only Albanian kid that won it to come to the UK for the International Baccalaureate Programme, United World College of the Atlantic in Wales. The United World Colleges, there's 18 of them across the world. Mandela was the honorary president. They were started as a global movement to unite nations, cultures, people, because education can be that force. And as Mandela said, it's the best weapon we have to change the world. Because you can be very talented and you can be very bright, but if you're born in Albania, then you just don't have the same opportunities. This isn't about treating everybody equally. This is about understanding that our paths are different. And I might need a bit more than you in order to get to a level playing field. So that's what the colleges do, which is amazing. So I arrived in the UK with $100, which was an incredible amount of money for my parents. I mean, they were getting paid like $10 and they were highly educated. But this is the difference in economic standing between Albania and the UK at the time. I didn't speak any English. I didn't know anybody. I'd never been on a plane. And I went to college with 200 kids from over 100 different countries. And that's the first time I'd met anybody that wasn't Albanian, let alone a different race or religion or ethnicity. And it was mind-blowing. You know, there were people there from royal families and there were people there from, you know, refugees of war. My roommate from Rwanda, she'd lost all of her family in the genocide. And so that teaches you resilience like, you know, nothing else. Putting people like that in one place, it's amazing because you can imagine the social and philosophical and financial triumphs and tragedies that these people come with and biases all in one place. And the point of it all is that at the core of it, we're all human and our paths might be different, but there is always a greater purpose in life and there is always a better way that we can collaborate and an understanding that we can have of each other's paths. So it taught me at a very young age how amazing diversity was and how amazing inclusion was. And because if you surround yourself with people just like you, you're not going to grow anywhere. You're going there, your world remains the same. When you make your world bigger and you surround yourself with different people, they bring a different perspective to the table. And that helps with everything. It helps your collaboration, your decision making, your buyers, your curiosity, your innovation. So I've spent most of my life ever since recognizing the opportunity that was given to me and the privilege that that gave me and making sure that I never took that for granted. So I worked even harder to make the most out of that and then use that privilege to pave the way for many others. Because that's what it's about. It's about making sure that those that are underprivileged and underrepresented are given an opportunity to compete in exactly the same way as those that don't have those opportunities. An interesting fact about me is that I was born in Albania. Albania was a dictator country. I lived through a civil war. I lived on food rations. And at one point, I narrowly escaped death as I was sitting in the living room and a bullet came through the window that missed me by only a few centimeters.
I want to dig in a little bit because you use a really interesting word there that I think is so important, and I still think that we don't really have the grasp on what it really means. And that word is resilience.
Yeah.
And you sell your lovely story and I love it, and I'm here listening and I'm thinking, yes, go on. Absolutely. But that must have not been easy to get on a plane, to go to a whole new country. Not that I have anything against Wales, because half of my family are from Cardiff.
It rains a lot there, though. I'm telling you that.
And why are there so many sheep? What does one have to do, and what did you have to do?
It's really, really hard. And I think that, well, let's be clear. When I came over, I knew that it was a great opportunity, but I didn't really understand how hard it was going to be clear. Like, I was 16 years old, I was impressionable, I was, young enough to know my mind, or old enough to know my mind, but young enough to be molded. And I thought I was coming to the UK and it was going to be great. And my parents, I remember asking them if they'd let me go, and obviously they recognized this was a great opportunity, but they didn't know what they were letting themselves in for. And the reality of it was that it was way harder than what the opportunity was on paper. There was no direct flight from Albania to the UK, so I had to go via Switzerland. And I had no idea where I was going at all. So luckily somebody on the plane helped me out to make sure that I made my connection to come to Switzerland. The pilot was really lovely to me. He let me go and see the cockpit because they realized that I'd never been on a plane before, because the plane was full of foreigners. There was no Albanians on this plane. And when I arrived, I'd left my visa papers because I only had a single entry visa. And when your passport gets checked, that's when they need to look at your papers and then give you a 2-year visa. I'd left them in my checked luggage because I had no idea. I had no concept that your passport gets checked first. So I got detained, and then they had to come with me and take my case. I couldn't really speak that much English anyway. They saw my papers, they gave me my visa. And then the college had sorted out a bus for every student, but the bus was the following morning. So somebody picked me up, an alumni picked me up with my name, Suki, a lady called Suki, and she said to me, "Do you want to call your parents?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to call my parents." They didn't have a phone. In Albania, not everybody had a landline, but my neighbors, like a few roads down, had a landline because they worked for the government. And I could just say, by the time they called my parents, they came in, my money went. So I think my parents could just hear me say hello. And then she sent me to a hostel. She said she didn't have, she was on the couch, she didn't have her own place. So she very kindly booked a hostel for me. That was horrific, like spending the first night on my own. England was really grey. It looked like a black and white movie. It was raining already. I had my own room, so that was nice, but obviously shared bathrooms. And then she picked me up the following day and took me to the airport. And I'll never forget it. I spent my whole night crying. It was really hard. And then I was homesick for 3 months fully. Like, you get up in the morning and you have this massive pain in your chest. You suddenly remember where you are and you miss everything. You miss, the smallest of places. You miss your school, you miss the place where you go and get your bread from, everything. And I used to write these big long letters because obviously there's no email. And my parents would send me a fax. So that was as high as technology was. And I still have those fax letters today, but the ink has rubbed off, which is really sad. But that would be the fastest way to communicate. So it was pretty hard. But if you don't go through those things in life, then you don't learn resilience. And resilience is the most important thing, because whatever happens in life, it takes a village, and you should use your network. And I've got amazing friends, amazing family. But when it comes down to it, it's on you. Only you can get yourself out of bed in the morning and flip the duvet. As a CEO of a business, I'm responsible. I'm responsible for all my employees, for my customers, for my investors. And I can have the best, amazing team, and I do, but they're not responsible. I am. It's on me. So you've got to learn that it's lonely at the top. So actually learning that it was lonely at 16 was not a bad lesson for me, because I couldn't run off and ask for help. You just learn to sink or swim, and I decided that I had to learn to swim, so I did that.
Wow. Wow.
Sorry, that took me back. I haven't spoken about that for a long time, if ever. I'm not sure if I've spoken about all of that before.
I love it. I love it because it tells me so much about the human you are. I see it time and time again. I'm not the smartest in the room, but I have a lot of common sense, and I watch. I see but don't say. And there's some fantastic leaders in this country. And then there's leaders like you who actually understand. And I speak to a number of leaders, and they all have good intentions. And they go, yeah, we've got 50 to 100 early career roles, or we've got opportunities. But that still doesn't level the playing field.
It doesn't at all. It doesn't. And I think that's the thing that people don't understand, the difference between equality and equity. And I think you don't normally find, or certainly because I work in a professional environment, when it comes to helping those that are underprivileged or underrepresented, even male versus female, I don't often find people that are clearly biased. They would hide, most people hide that well, so you're not facing with that.
They know how to hide it.
But what you face is a lot of ignorance, I think. It's where people go, why are we talking about this? If we talk about this, it makes it sound like we're different. We're all the same. I treat everybody the same. I don't see color. I don't see gender. And that's when I have to say, but you should see color, and you should see gender, and you should see social status. Because if you don't see it, then you don't understand that my path is different from yours. There is a reason why only 7% of the CEOs in the Tech 100 today are female. And the reason for that is our paths are different. So you have to look at me and you have to think, do I need to help you a little bit more? Just to level the playing field. After that, you leave it to me, because I never want to be a tick in the box. I'm going to get there because I work really, really hard. But sometimes hard work is not enough. If you're not given a level playing field and the same opportunity, then it's always going to be those with more privilege that are going to get there, and that's not fair. And on top of that, it's not good for business anyway, because I run a tech business and there are always more jobs than there are people in tech. So we are fishing in a small pond, and I can't hire fast enough. So in order for me to grow my business, I've got to look further, and I've got to give opportunities to those that aren't even aware of what a job in tech means. So I've got to proactively make sure that I fix not just my recruitment policies and my retention policies. You can have the best policies in the world, but you don't have enough diversity at the pipeline level. There's a systemic issue. Those people don't feel comfortable to apply. Maybe they don't know about it, maybe you didn't reach them out. So you've got to look outside of your own business and then go and find those that are 5 years younger today, those that are 8-year-old, and teach them about what it means to have a job. I think being aware is important. Don't be ignorant. Don't look at your world and go, I'm not racist, I don't have bias, I treat everybody the same, therefore I don't have a problem. We do have a problem as a society, and it's our job to create systemic things that can happen, to put in place groups, processes that employees can, look after themselves and look after others and bring the best version of themselves to the table and feel included for exactly who they are. Not a spray-painted version of somebody else, but bring themselves to the table, because that is, I think, the basic definition of D&I. I just need you. I need Jack to bring Jack to the table with all your crazy and your amazingness, because when I take that crazy out of you, then I lose your amazingness as well. And that's what inclusion is about. It's about that sense of belonging. It's not about just having different people around the dinner table. It's about making sure they have a voice, they're listened, and they feel great about their story that they have to tell.
I always go into meetings and say, a part of this meeting, you will meet the alien of me.
I love that.
Because you have to be more alien in everything you do.
I love that. 100%.
We've all got it in us. Why are more people not talking like you are? And I mean, like, I believe they should. Can we just get not all of them, but a lot of the leaders into the room and say, listen, change how you approach things? Do you think it's because of the background that you've had that has become your superpower?
I don't know is the answer, but I can say that I'm absolutely grateful of where I came from. And I think that the trick is making sure that as leaders, we make our world bigger. Every leader should be able to have a very high EQ. Our job is to be resilient. Our job is to inspire, because so many other people depend on us. And we can be vulnerable. I completely think that's really important, because people need to look at the human behind you, and they need to make sure that we've got commonality. Otherwise, how do you become inspiring as a leader? If you're on some pedestal, that's how you become arrogant. But you also have to inspire confidence, and you've got to inspire passion. And one of my biggest advices that I give to people is find what you're passionate about, because if you're doing a job that is linked to what you're passionate about, then it's not work. and you're going to throw yourself at it. And equally find what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. Because for the things that you're not that keen on, the chances are you're never going to be that good at it. And most leaders, I find the issue is most leaders focus on themselves, and they focus on, wanting to be good at everything. And we can't all be good at everything. I think you've got to figure out, here are the things I'm really good at, and here are the things I'm not so good at. And the things you're not so good at, hire other people whose strength those things are. So everybody's operating at a 10 out of 10. And then for the things you're good at, throw yourselves at them and make yourself a 12 out of 10, not like a mediocre 7 out of 10 on those. And know that your job is to inspire. And if as a leader, as a CEO, you don't love what you do, then I'm sorry, but you've got to give that space to somebody else. There's a lot of people out there that want to grow. So give it to somebody else who's going to love this thing and throw their passion into it, because it is our job to lead. So it's a long way of saying, I think everybody should be inspiring. An interesting fact about IRIS is that IRIS is an acronym. It stands for Incomplete Records Information System. We were founded 46 years ago as the spare chair for an accountancy firm. So they made sure that all of the records were accurate and complete.
So tell me,
yes.
IRIS.
We sell payroll. We pay 1 in 6 people in the UK at IRIS.
Wow.
So the chances are, if you look at your payslip, there might be an IRIS logo in it.
So you payroll 1.6 people.
Every 1 in 6 people in the UK is paid through our system, through our software. And 6 million people globally. And there are a lot more fundamental issues systemically in the pipeline around, well-being. There's so many children, particularly coming out of COVID, where we've got to focus on their well-being, and mental well-being is very difficult because you can't point at it. There's no,
can't see it.
You can't see it. There's no bandage that they are wearing. And one of the things that we do at IRIS, we sell software and services to schools around those kids that maybe are under social care. So there is somebody's job today to sort of say, little Johnny didn't come to school today. And that sends a trigger to social services to make sure that there wasn't anything, that might have happened to that child.
Changing the narrative, changing the outcome. I love how you spoke about your product. Not that it's the best shiny product that will automate and do A, B, and C, which it will do anyway. You talked about that trigger that goes to that social worker to make sure that the well-being of that young individual is safe.
Yeah.
And when you change the narrative, you change the outcome, don't you?
I completely agree with that. I think as a business, you've got to make sure that you understand what problem you're trying to fix. It's the thing that gets you up in the morning is not how beautiful your software is. Everybody can build beautiful tech. It's what it does, and does it do it in the most efficient way? So a lot of what we sell is not exciting, but it's mission critical, and it answers a pain point for somebody. So we provide engagement software to schools, for example, so that all the text messaging that goes between schools and parents, well, it's really important to me that that is 100% accurate and it goes on time every time. Because if something was to happen to your child and you didn't get that text message as a parent that said, come and collect Lucy or whatever because, she's hurt her knee, that would be really horrific. Or if you didn't pay somebody's payroll on time, that's pretty awful, and you didn't pay it accurately, and they've got their mortgage payments coming out and all their commitments coming out. So I think the narrative becomes really important, because then for those that come to work, they're not coming to work to sell software, they're coming to work to make sure somebody gets paid on time, or that somebody's parent feels really comfortable that their kids is being looked after at school, or that if a kid didn't show up at school, then somebody's made aware of that, because that's the important thing. And that's the narrative. And then how we do it, that's a different thing, right? And
that always changes, right? As new technologies come in place.
Absolutely. And you can make it efficiently, you can make it at scale, but that's a completely different thing. That's about how profitably do you run your business and all of that. Making sure that you understand the pain point of your customer and the value you're bringing to the table, and that you don't compromise on that is really, really important, because then you get your employees as well to feel more motivated about what they do, because they don't get up in the morning saying, I'm selling payroll software. Hopefully they get up in the morning saying, I'm making sure somebody gets paid on time today, because that matters to them.
Tell me a little bit about the culture.
So the culture of Iris is something I've focused on quite a lot. So I started 8 years ago, and I was a CFO when I started. And at the time, the business was really successful, but it had grown quite a lot by acquisition, which meant that it was more or less a house of brands. All of these amazing acquisitions had come into the Iris family, but these employees that didn't even know they worked for Iris. I hired a great chief people officer. And I remember saying to her, I want people when they go down the pub and somebody says, what do you do for a job? Don't want them to say, I'm in sales, I'm an engineer. I want them to say, I work for Iris. That is my mission. I want them to be so proud of the company they work for, that that's what they lead with. And at this point in time, our Glassdoor was 1.8. We were not a happy business to work at. We were a successful business, but not a business that had focused on culture. So we started from scratch. Everybody got an Iris contract. Everybody got put on the same benefits, because it's really important that when you're in the kitchen and you talk about bonuses and healthcare and all the other great benefits that we offer, that you're all the same. All the products were rebranded so everybody could see that they were part of a bigger family, because we bought these businesses because they were successful in their own right, and we could grow them all coming together. So we integrated all of these solutions. So we launched a mission, a vision, a set of values. Our values spell the word impact. They stand for innovation, making it happen, passion, that's my favorite one, accountability, customer, and teamwork. So what we do is every time you join Iris, there's an onboarding that takes place. So we tell you about these values of ours, because we want to make sure that you understand if you're joining Iris, you're joining a culture where we want to innovate, we want to think outside the box, we want to be curious, where we are making it happen. This isn't about chatting, this is make things happen. Ask for forgiveness, don't ask for permission. And you're passionate about what you do and the value you're bringing to that customer, so that they can get paid on time, that their taxes are paid on time, that from an HR perspective, people are looked after, so that people are accountable. Because what happens when you come to work, you should own your stuff. You should be proud of it. And I give you a lot of responsibility. I don't want to micromanage you, but then be accountable for what you're doing.
I totally agree with that.
Focus on your customers, and you work as a team. So we teach you about these values and we laminate them. They're in every wall, but we celebrate them as well. So we have impact winners every quarter, where employees are voting for themselves and for each other to say,
that's cool.
That's the best manager I've ever had, because they've shown that they've got impact values every day.
And it all starts with the values, right?
Yes.
I can tell in the way you're speaking that these groups, these values are the real deal.
Absolutely.
And not just a...
Absolutely. They're not a tick in the box. I think the best phrase is don't laminate them, celebrate them. I know they need laminating to make sure people know
that's part of branding and making sure people understand it, right?
But they need to be celebrated.
Agree.
Because otherwise, they're just a tick in the box.
I am a big believer that actually we need to inspire and let the young people see what's possible, right?
100%. And they don't know. This is the problem. They don't know, because their mums and dads, most of them are working from home now as well. They're not even going to an office. And our most joyful day in the office is when we have a bring your kids to work day. They absolutely love it, because they can see what their parents are doing, but they can also understand that to run a business, it doesn't matter what business it is. 80% of every business is the same. Every business needs a sales department, a marketing department, a product department. So you don't have to worry about which industry you work in. You just feel passionate about what value you want to add. You're creative, you want to be in marketing. You can work for any business in marketing, and it brings it to life, what we do. So I think that's fantastic. So for that, we decided 3-4 years ago that we would only, from a corporate perspective, sponsor initiatives that were linked to the next generation. Because before, as you can imagine, during COVID particularly, people, there was a charity case every 5 minutes, and so many cases are wonderful. If you want to sponsor cancer, how can you say no to that? But that's meaningful to you. To the business, what really matters is that we help the next generation. So what we've said to our employees is do what you want to do. You sponsor all the things you want to sponsor that are meaningful to you. If you don't know what to sponsor, here is what we'd like to do. And I give you 3 days off a year that you can focus on doing charity work. And for us, we then, the sort of corporate sponsorships are primarily with charities that teach children how to read, charities that focus on well-being, those that teach girls about tech. We host lots of schools, lots of kids, 12-year-olds come to Iris and we teach them what it's like to be in marketing.
Your sons at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. You're trying to say to them, go and do as many things you can and find out what you don't like so you can get closer to the things that you do like.
Absolutely.
And I'm a big believer in that. Yeah. Try every coffee and then see which one you don't like.
I agree. I think our job as leaders, our job is to make the world big. As parents, I think our job is to make our kids' world bigger. It's not about having A+ grades and everything else, right? It's about them being happy. And in order for them to be happy, they've got to try things. It's not like get them the best tutors that they can study for 4 hours a day every night. What about the other things they need to learn? What about, you know, friendship and human connections? And what about hobbies that they might enjoy? You know, don't force them to go and play football every Sunday. If they love that, absolutely do that. But I think that sometimes we project our own needs onto our children. And I've found that if I just make their world big and they try lots of different things, there will be the one thing that they absolutely fall in love with. So my eldest son, for example, he's always been good at maths
and
from
he's
the
13,
start.
right?
He's 13. I've got a teenager.
Oh.
I don't know. Come and talk to me in a couple of years, Jack. I'm not sure how I'll cope with that. But he, you know, he's always been bright and great at maths. Now I love maths, so that's like my big thing, right? But he's never really tried. He was naturally bright at it, but it's not something that he's loved. And that's been, you know, heartbreaking at times. But then suddenly they did a school production and it was We Will Rock You, and he got one of the biggest parts. Never knew that he loved singing. You know, he'd tried, I'd send him to drama school. He plays piano, he plays saxophone, he'd been in the choir, but it's never come to me as I love this, I love doing this. And he was Khashoggi and he was absolutely unbelievable. And I went from being worried that this 12-year-old boy at the time as he was, maybe didn't have it in him to try really hard in things, and he was, you know, naturally bright but didn't have the hard work, and I thought, how do I teach you hard work? To suddenly finding that he was passionate about this thing, and he would honestly sing for 4 hours every night till midnight, 1 a.m. to the point that his brother was telling him to shut up, to practice his songs. And every morning, I've never seen him get up so early, just practice the thing that he loved. And I just took a sigh of relief thinking, you know, that the joy that comes from hard work, if you find the thing that you are passionate about, because that's all you want as a parent. You want them to understand that effort is important. Happiness doesn't come from me giving you money. You need to have earned that outcome yourself.
He's found
his thing now. I mean, it could be a new thing one day.
And that's fine if it does.
It's all about making sure that in life you find that thing you're passionate about, so you are able to flip the duvet. And I know not everybody's got the luxury to do that, but it's our job to look around us and spot where people don't have that luxury and do our bit. There are 3,500 employees at Iris, and 49% of our employees are women, which I'm really, really proud of, and I'm determined to get it to 50%. But to put that in context, an interesting fact about our industry is that only 26% of the UK workforce in tech are women. So there's a lot of work that we need to do.
We've got time for one more question, and I think I've found one of my tribe members in you. You know, and I think we're gonna get on. I think there's a lot of things we can do. What's your duvet flip? What's getting you out of bed?
Honestly, I love what I do. I'm really grateful for my life. I look at the world glass half full, and I also feel that if it's something I don't like, I have the power to change it. I'm not a victim, I can change it. And I've got amazing people I work with, and they inspire me every day. And I've got an amazing husband that supports me and 2 amazing boys. And honestly, they probably teach me the most every day, because the rate at which they grow, their curiosity, their enthusiasm, it keeps me grounded. So I get up in the morning for them, and I feel very privileged to have the life that I have, and it allows me to also hopefully help some others too, and that's a great outcome.
And when you said to me earlier, I'm going to steal something,
Yes.
I was thinking in my mind, please don't. That's on loan from Tower of London, the Crown Jewels. But you know what? If you want to steal something, I won't tell if you don't.
Oh, I love it. I love
I
it.
just want to say thank you for coming on the show,
Thank
being
you.
your authentic self. You speak
You're
so much.
inspirational, honestly. Honestly, I really hope my boys one day grow up to be like 100 of what you are.
Well, they're going to see this on TikTok. They're on it, so we'll wait and see what they say.
They want to be YouTubers
Yeah,
and
there you
TikTokers
go.
right now, so there you go. You've inspired them.
Well, thank you for everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I've loved it. Honestly, thank you.